Welcome back, everyone. Oh, hopefully I got enough stuff to get a fire going. Fingers crossed. This might be a little on the wet side, but we'll see. What do you reckon? Eh? Bob. Bob, come here. Come here. I have to be alarmed when he gets alarmed, because the moose have decided recently that they don't really care anymore, and they're pretty much walking straight into our garden. So just got to keep an eye out. Right, let's see what dry stuff we got. This is soaking. What are you getting triggered for? Eh? Have a warm fire in a minute. So I don't really have a plan as such for this video. There's a lot of things I want to talk about, but knowing how my brain works, I'll probably forget most of them. You know, I'll do my best. But it is a lovely November day, actually warmer than I would be expecting. It was very much colder than this last year. We're coming up to our third winter in Sweden now. Just at the beginning. A lot of fun times ahead. I think it's about 3 degrees or something. So, not too bad. Should have brought a knife out with me though. We don't need that today. What are you after? Me? Should definitely have got some smaller bits. May struggle. Let's see if we can get the old Leatherman involved. Not really. A bit out of its depth with this. Oi, that's my chair. Alright, we'll see how we get on. If it doesn't go, we'll just get some petrol on it. Just, you know, get these drying at the side of it. The whole squad, -1, Marie's out today. I think this birch bark should get us going pretty quick. What are you after? Hmm? What's the matter? Oh! 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 That's all you want, isn't it? Touch. Alright. Okay, Bob. We're near fire now. You've got to be careful. All that oil in there, look. Even soaking wet, it's still wanting to go. Right, you, off my chair. Come on. We'll see. The breeze has picked up a little bit, so if it gets blowy, then I'm sorry. Bob, come here. Don't trust you. But I just wanted to come on and touch base, really. Give you a bit of a life update, if you like. Because we've not sat down and had a proper chat for quite some time. And a lot of you have been around for a very long time. Like 4 years, you know. Some of the same names I recognise from right when I first left in the van, and it was just me and you lot. Just winging it, basically. And a lot of you are still here, so I'm grateful of that. Along with the other loads of other new people. What are you eating? What do you want? This might be difficult with all of the animals around. Oh dear. So obviously we're still here. We're still enjoying it. We're still, you know, doing what we set out to do, which was make something where we can live off grid as much as possible and just enjoy life a bit. And that's what we've been doing. It's been a tough few years, I'm not going to lie. It's one thing on its own, like deciding to put down some roots somewhere and, you know, try and build something. That's a lot of stress in itself, but trying to do that in another country it makes everything like 10 times more difficult. But we've come a long way since day one pulling onto this plot. It's definitely turning into something, you know, which is good, because otherwise it'd be a massive waste of time. What are you doing? Oh, you're not left out. Oh, now we're getting a fire going. See, it's that birch bark. It's basically is petrol. You don't need anything else. In fact, while it's going well, sorry, let's get some bigger bits on. It's all dry wood, but it's quite big. Probably should have made some smaller bits. It'll be alright though. Hey, you like the fire, don't you? So I know that the videos on here have been spotty, to say the least, in the last, you know, couple of years. You know, there's many reasons behind it. I mean, building this thing was hard enough on its own, let alone trying to film it. I also tried to, you know, take into account that a lot of the people who are on this channel are here for the van stuff, because that's how it started, you know, travelling around in the vans and all of that, and probably aren't interested in off-grid and homesteads and all of that, because that's what we're working towards here. I mean, that's what we want, is a homestead. This is a homestead by definition, you know. That's what it was built for originally. You got the barn, the little house, the plot of land, and then you'd have crops on here. The workshop, what it is now, used to be for the animals, you know, maybe a cow or pigs or something. There was feeding troughs in there. So this would have been a pretty self-sufficient little homestead back in the day, and eventually we will get it back to that. I don't know about animals and stuff, we'll have to see, but at least like growing vegetables, and we're obviously power independent now. We're water independent, well we will be water independent next year, but it's now put away for the winter because it's all going to freeze again. But once we get that out of there and into there, then we'll have water all year long as well. And then it's just a case of what food we can grow, and you know, all of that. I love that stuff. I really want to learn about all of that. Bob, there's nothing there. You're seeing things, mate. There's nothing there. Yeah, all of that stuff really excites me. How to live off grid. I mean, you've seen that anyway. That's the whole point of the van, isn't it? Being as off grid as possible, and being, in fact, scrap off grid. It's not about being off grid. It's about being independent. That's what I love. The off grid thing, you know, it is what it is. One person's definition is completely different to another's. It's about being independent. That is the thing that makes me happiest in life, is being independent in as much as I can. Things I do, the decisions I make, you know, I like things to be my choice, up to me. And that's partly why I remember saying a long time ago that I didn't want to move into a house again, because I have done it. I've had a house for a bit, but I mean, it was only rented, but you know, I've done that life for about a year, and that was enough for me to know that I never wanted to do it again. So in my mind, you know, it was the van or bust. That was pretty much where I was at. Although I was hoping that, you know, living in the van wouldn't be forever. It's not that I didn't enjoy it. I mean, you know, it was great fun. But for me personally, I want more out of life than what the van alone can give me. So that's why, you know, it was always the dream to get a piece of land. I mean, I would have been more than happy just starting with a field and a bit of forest or something with the van and going from there, you know, started like what CJ's done in Portugal. I would have been happy doing that. We're, you know, very lucky that we came across this place, but we didn't set out looking for something like this. It just sort of happened, you know. But like I say, I would have been just as content pulling up in a field, starting from scratch, you know, making everything from scratch out of trees. Just that would have been fine with me. This has given us, although it was an absolute state when we got here, as you will have all have seen, it did give us a sort of jump start in life, because essentially we've come here and started from zero. I was talking to someone the other day, and I almost view this as we are now 2 years old. That's how I feel. You know, we've started life again from zero. Although luckily I've got the sort of knowledge and experiences of 30 years to start again with, which is nice. I wish everyone was born with that. It's quite handy. But yeah, that's how I like to view this, is starting from zero again. But saying about the van, what I mean by it can't give me everything I want, even just the living in it part, I really love it. You know, the living in a vehicle is fantastic. I encourage everyone to do it, at least for a bit during their life, you know, take a year or two and just experience it, because it's amazing. Although I get a lot of pleasure out of travel, seeing new things, you know, going off and photographing stuff and all of those things that a van is brilliant for, on the other hand, I get a lot of pleasure out of like building things, mechanicking, you know, doing stuff in a workshop, and I get a lot of pleasure out of musical instruments, playing the piano, you know, playing guitar. I mean, you can play guitar in a van, but you know, just like riding motorbikes, riding snowmobiles, I've discovered since being here. All of these other things in life, I get an equal amount of pleasure as I do travelling, if not maybe a little bit more. You know, put me in a workshop restoring an old axe or a knife or something for the day, I'm more than happy. And now to be able to do it in my own workshop is just something else, to be honest. Oh, that's proper going. Maybe a bit too warm, Bob, are you? So, you know, to be able to sit here now in my own garden, have a fire and all of that, it's a dream come true, to be honest. There's no other way to put it. This has been a dream of mine for a very long time. I didn't think it would happen now. I thought, you know, it'd take years and years to find something, to you know, find the right place and all of that kind of thing. And luckily it's happened. You know, I've just turned 30, so was I 28? I must have been 28, yeah, when I first came into Sweden. And a mortgage free, because it's completely paid for. It's, you know, there's no mortgage or debt or anything on this place. To have that by 30, that's just life complete for me, to be honest. Obviously there's still a lot more work to do here, but you know, the bulk of it's done. We have a home, we have a place to live, a base, somewhere to go back to, and I just couldn't ask for more than that, really. I'll mention quickly, speaking about no debt and all of that, how we did manage to pay for all of this lot. I don't think I've ever really gone into this, but there's no, you know, secret sauce. There's no like invest in this Bitcoin or something that we did to be able to get this. The actual property itself, the little square that we're in, obviously, as you remember, it was a ruin, like a proper ruin. That house, although it doesn't look too bad from the outside, that's going to collapse. It is. I think in the next few years that's going to collapse if we don't do something about it. The whole basement has caved in. It's wrecked. You know, if you wanted to renovate that and live in it, it would cost an ungodly amount of money to do it properly. So that's why we've left that alone for now, and, you know, focused on the barn, because that fit our needs basically. But yeah, the property itself, the buildings, we got for a silly small amount of money. It's just not even worth mentioning. And then all of the work we did on that, the sort of initial renovations, building materials, cost, all of that kind of thing, to be able to do it so quickly. See, this is the thing, like, we built that in 6 months. You know, from the moment it started to thaw out, started on the foundations and, you know, worked from the ground up basically, and we were in it by that winter. It was a hell of a lot of work to get to that point, but I don't have an exact figure of how much it all costs. I've got a rough idea in my mind, but one thing I will say is that was cheaper than what I see people spending on van conversions now. Just think about the average price that people are paying for a van and a conversion. That was cheaper. And the way that we paid for that, not that it's particularly anyone's business, but I have seen, you know, it posted a lot of times. I've seen all kinds of stories and rumours about how we got it. But the bottom line is that was paid for with some inheritance that Marie had that I have borrowed. We've gone half each on it, but obviously I had to borrow my half off her and slowly pay her back. So I guess I am a bit in debt for it, but at least it's not with someone who, you know, is going to take my kneecaps if I don't pay 1 month or something. But all of these ideas of trust funds and being secret millionaires, and no, it's far less interesting than that, I'm afraid. And as I say, it wasn't actually that much money. It's kind of shocking actually what we have. If I compare this to the world that I used to live in, when I worked in the nightclubs and dealing with all the assholes that you get there, people with way more money than sense. Some people would wear the cost of this house on their wrist as a watch and then tip champagne over it in a bar, thinking that proves something. You know, that's what I've always thought back to when we think about how much this cost. It's sad. It's the only way to put it. It's sad. But anyway, now that that's all cleared up, I want to talk about this, the videos, YouTube. Where's it going? What is the plan? So, as I said before, I am aware that not everyone is interested in this kind of stuff, and some people just want to see, you know, going around in the van and seeing new places and all of that, and that's fine. You know, I understand it. I'm the same. I watch certain channels for particular subjects and other channels for, you know, something completely different. That's the beauty of YouTube, isn't it? And online video, you can watch whatever you want whenever you want. Can we do this without getting burnt? That's the question. Maybe. So that's my goal with why I made the other channel. So I did mention it in the last video, however that video was talking about power banks, which I've avoided for as long as possible, but you know, here we are. So it probably wasn't the best video to mention that in, but you know. So the idea of that channel is it's going to be everything else that I do except the van things, you know, stuff in the van, because there is going to be, you know, trips coming up. Like, I really want to, but the beauty of it now is I'm in a position where I can go on these trips whenever I want, because I want to. It's not I'm just in the van all the time. You know, now it's like, alright, I want to go there for a week or 2 weeks or whatever. So I am going to be doing a lot more exploring in the van, especially around Sweden to start with, because this country is big and there's a lot to see, a lot of places to go. So on here, the my goal, because I love making these videos, I mean, not so much sitting here talking smack in front of the camera, but nice videos, nice filmed, and you know, nice footage, drone, all of that. I love doing that. That is, again, something else that gives me the fizz in life. I really enjoy it. But on videos where I'm building things and, you know, using my brain and trying to figure things out, I'm not interested in doing that, because it's taking up brain space that I need to be doing whatever it is I'm doing. You know, that's why I struggled so hard trying to film building this place, and that's why probably 80% of it was on Patreon, which I'm going to cover that subject in a minute as well, because I know there's a lot of controversy around that too, so we'll get onto that in a minute. But on this channel, what I really want is to be able to go off in the van, have little mini adventures, and just get out and do some photography again, and just see things, new places, wildlife, you know, northern lights from a different angle than where we are now. Although it's spectacular, I'm not complaining. I'd like to take pictures of it with some other kind of scenery, you know. So there's going to be a lot of that. Plenty of trips coming up through the winter, definitely. It's going to be nice to get out again. That's why I built the new van. But I'm also going to be making a lot more videos on the other channel, you know, of stuff around here. I think all of the stuff I do, the sort of homestead kind of things, you know, building stuff and fixing things and working on vehicles and all of that, is all going to be on that channel. So if you do want to see that, then make sure you subscribe to that one, because this channel is pretty much going to be nice videos and travelling around. That's where we're going to get back to, and then everything else is going to be on there. I mean, I like to make so many different kinds of videos, it's crazy. Like I say, I like making, you know, silky, scenic, whatever kind of videos with lots of fancy camera angles, and, you know, get all the kit out and just throw it at the scene and hope for the best. I love doing that. I also like making completely silent videos. I made one the other day, chopping firewood. I appreciate that's not for everyone. Some people would say, why would you want to sit there for 20 minutes and watch someone cut firewood? But I would actually sit and watch that, so that's why I chose to make it. Maybe I'm sad, I don't know. I like those kind of things. I like the restoration stuff, you know, fixing old things and bringing them back to life. I love that. That is a massive passion for me, working on those old tools. And some of you might think, why don't you just put it all on the same channel? And it goes back to that thing of, some people aren't interested, some people are. Some people won't watch one thing but will watch something else, and it's a constant battle. And at the end of the day, you know, although I don't like to admit it, making videos in one form or another is what I do for work. This is my income, you know. And when one video does well and one does terrible, because they're on completely different subjects, like polar opposites, that obviously hurts the channel, which hurts my income, which means can't put diesel in the van, which means less trips. It's just, you know, it's an endless loop. So you've got to separate things. And also, at the end of the day, I don't want to waste people's time. If you're not interested in something, I don't want to, you know, make you sit through it. I'm especially not going to use clickbait and other tactics to make you think you're going to be watching one thing, but then you have to sit through 20 minutes of shite. You know, that's something I'm not interested in doing. So that brings me on to the taboo subject, which is Patreon. So I want to explain to you why I love it so much and why it is such a blessing that I decided to fire that up. Because, I mean, I can tell you right away that if it wasn't for Patreon, I don't think I'd be here at all. I just mean in the sense of creating videos. Like, don't read too much into that. I just mean on YouTube. I don't think I'd be doing it anymore if it wasn't for Patreon. So obviously there's been a lot of drama in the past, which we won't bring up again. You all know the stories that have happened. That's all in the past, but it was that whole tornado of dog shit that made me want to go down that route in the first place. Because, as I say, I love to make videos. It's a hobby and it's a passion. I really enjoy it. I love connecting with people through those videos. And there was a point where I felt like I couldn't do that anymore, because the things I was doing were getting me in trouble, and, you know, so that's how it originally sort of started. But then having that there this whole time, obviously the tight-knit community aspect of it is fantastic. You know, the 500-600 people that are on there, it's like a little community. You know, you put a video out and it's direct feedback without the whole wall of stuff that can be quite overwhelming. Some people seem to assume that it's a monetary reason why I did Patreon, but it's not, and that's why I set it as the lowest it'd go, which was £1. It's never been about making money. I can tell you now, there's far easier ways in life of making money than trying to make videos. It's a minefield. That's a lot of work, a lot of time earning zero money, let alone very little, zero, for a long time. So video making in general was never about the money. I'm extremely fortunate that now it's my income, but it never started out as that. It actually, the sort of Lost in Europe thing started out as I wanted company, you know, because I left in the van by myself, so I just started making videos about it, obviously to document what I was doing, but also to feel like I had someone to talk to. As sad as that is, I have to keep getting up and changing the camera because it's getting dark. But Patreon never has and never will be a financially based thing that I do. Like, it's just not. That'd be such a bad idea. But what it has done, especially since being here, I was saying about making the videos and stuff, it allowed me through the whole build process to basically just film whatever the hell I felt like, slap it together into something and put it on there. And a lot of the videos, they're not pretty, they're not polished, it's just like raw footage out of the camera, straight on. You know, some of it's just me talking rubbish for half an hour. You know, it's again, it's not everyone's cup of tea. I'm very grateful to the people that are on there and actually enjoy my waffling and seeing what we're getting up to, but it's not for everyone, and I definitely wouldn't expect anybody to sign up to it. I think I've just got very lost in the weeds over the past few years of not knowing what to do and not knowing exactly what path I was on. Again, I think the sort of stress involved with building this and moving country and all of the guff that comes in with that, there's a lot, trust me. I think it just made things very cloudy, and it was hard for me to see like what I was doing and where I was going, you know. But now that we're coming out the back of that, you know, we're here, we're residents here, we're all legal, the house is pretty much built, we've got another fire to go in downstairs, and then we'll be pretty much energy independent, I think, because last winter we were using diesel heaters downstairs, which is not a good plan with today's fuel prices at £2.20 a litre for diesel. There's still a bit of work to do, but life is a lot more stress-free now. There's more time, or there's more headspace to make decisions and think about things. So that's why now I can sort of step back, look at all of the online video stuff that I do, and try and organise it a bit, make some sense of it, and just, you know, explain to you what's going on and where we're at. So hopefully I've managed to do that here, I think. I know it's probably been quite a long video, and fair play if you've managed to hold on right till the end. There's a lot of things I've wanted to talk about over the last few years, and I've just not. Although I've withheld things from, you know, public knowledge, like private stuff and things that we do. You know, I've withheld information here, withheld information at Amber Least, and God knows whatever else. Like, you have to. There's obviously certain things that you just can't put out into the online world. It's just how it is, you know. But one thing I've never done is tell porkies, you know. I don't make up stories. I'm always as honest with you as I can be about things. You get the blunt, straight answer from me, and some people don't like the answer and some people love it. It's just how it is. But I've never been one to make up things for views or anything like that, you know. And I hope that people can see that. But, you know, as I say, there's been lots of rumours and stories in the past, which, I mean, it's hilarious. But I just wanted to address some of those things in this video because we've never really spoke about them before. And I've always been, you know, a pretty well open book, minus a few pages that I keep for myself. But I think you have to do that, otherwise you'd go insane if you put every detail of your life on the internet. I think that would be an extremely bad idea. But I think that is pretty much all I wanted to talk about, and I'm starting to lose my voice, so I think it's a good time to knock this on the head. Right, I'm going to leave you to go find something more interesting to watch, and I'll see you in a bit. What are you doing? You want to stay out? He doesn't want to go in now. We've got a bigger fire upstairs, Bob. Come on. Alright, I'm going without you. Bye. Bye, Bob.